Welcome, everyone, to episode 68 of the Thundercrafts podcast, where we forge through the shitstorm that was WCW Thunder. I'm your host, not someone you want to buy a used car from, Josh Kaiser. And joining me today, my co-host, riding your sister around like a baby doll, Kyle Hoagland.
As long as she's of age, I'm I guess I'm cool with that. What's going on, everybody? So, peeling behind the curtain a little bit. So, first of all, happy belated Christmas.
Yes, sir. Or whatever holiday you may celebrate.
Joyous Kwanzaa and
all likely belated at this point.
But yeah, we're together. We're actually kind of like smushed up in my office right now. We felt that we figured we didn't really get to hang out or do anything very much throughout this entire time, and this is usually a day for the past 20 years where we've a couple of us have gotten together and done some special camping, if you will.
Right.
So, but because adult things happen and everything, so that didn't happen obviously. So we figured, we'll pick this day, maybe get some food, watch a little bit of Thunder. It's really the American way.
That's right. Of course, no better way to spend the holiday season than Thunder 68. Of course, June 24th, 1999. Full disclosure, I watched this episode about a week ago, so I'm going to be recapping kind of off the fly, trying to remember what I saw, what I watched. A lot's happened since then with the holidays, but we're going to give it a go.
And like I said, I think I watched most of it a week ago. I did watch, I believe, the hardcore match that wasn't a hardcore match that then became a hardcore match at the end, and then the main event. I saw that last night. So that is fresh in my mind. Everything else, roughly 8 days ago.
All right, well, we are closer to 10 days away from Great American Bash. It might be longer than that at this point. I'm not actually sure. But we are live from Lafayette, Louisiana. And as Mike Tenay says, if it's Thursday and it's the Superstation, you're going to see some Larry chants.
And here's the thing: the Larry chants were there. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We shit on Larry every chance we get.
Me especially.
But he gets some chants. I don't know if these are Goldberg bunny ears chants, where they're kind of.
But they're Lafayette Larry chants.
Yes, they're Lafayette Larry chants, yes.
Of course, there's a lot of discussion about Nash and Sting. They are tag team partners here at Great American Bash upcoming. Are they going to get along? Always a fresh story when you've got that going on with tag team partners.
I'm going to say, this is WCW ideas to make a storyline number 5, where it's always when there's two baby faces in a tag match, especially if there's something that's going to be at a pay-per-view, which is going to be kind of weird. It's like, that's going to be the pay-per-view main event, so I guess the tag titles aren't on a line, but whatever the case may be, whatever they're going to do, of course, two baby faces at this point. Can they be trusted, Josh? We'll find out. Also,
was Sting driving the Hummer? We're still not sure who's driving the Hummer.
Well, we
a lot of questions to be answered.
We know for a fact that it wasn't Sid. Sid admitted out loud it wasn't him.
And I trust him.
I do. I mean, that is the face of the guy.
Sid is the guy who interfered and joined Team Madness and attacked Kevin Nash at the last pay-per-view. But I trust him that he was not the Hummer driver.
No, absolutely. If what he says, like, if it comes out of his mouth, like, it's fact. It's fact, for sure. You always got to trust that.
Of course, we're going to go to our first replay of the night. We got Master P. He had a party in New Orleans, which is where we were at Nitro. Henning's going to get into the ring. Of course, you've got Master P and all of the No Limit Soldiers. Kurt Henning's going to explain the misunderstanding that took place.
He dropped the CD.
He dropped the CD. He says he's got a custom-made cowboy hat here as a peace offering, extending an olive branch to
real
Master
nice. It looked like a really nice hat, too.
He then is going to, I think, throw cake in the face of...
No, he was... No. Henning was a complete...
That's right.
He was a complete... He was
the
a good
angel.
guy. He was the angel in this one.
And then they slammed him into the cake.
They stomped the hat and put cake in his face. He was just there to make amends of a mistake, clearly a misunderstanding at the Great American Bash.
Right.
And he went there, I'm sure, custom... I mean, I don't know if you've ever owned a custom-made
I can't afford one.
That's why
I've never had a friend nice enough to gift me something like that for my birthday.
The thing, like Kurt Hennig, one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time. I think it was Keith's birthday, whoever Keith fucking was. Obviously it's going to go in the annals of history as one of the greatest birthdays in the history of our sport.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, once again, it's the Hatfields and McCoys, man. The No Limit Soldiers and the Red Texas Rednecks just can't get along, man. It's like vinegar and water.
We are then going to cut to clips from a match where we got Hennig and Wyndham. They're attacking Ray with the other members of the Triad. And then, of course, the No Limit Soldiers are going to come in for the save. So we're going to continue to push, to your point, the No Limit Soldiers and the West Texas Rednecks.
What kind of music does the Triad like? I feel like now like this is like a third wild card. I feel
like they're like an alternative sort of grungy thing, right? I mean, DDP came out to Smells Like Teen Spirit, so you feel like that's probably got to be what they're...
Right, and Bam Bam Bigelow goes to nothing. He just comes out. No, I can go with that. So we've got... It feels like it could be rivaling tribes, but it seems like they're more in line with that.
At the end of the day, between those three different teams, you've got every white girl's Tinder profile, eclectic music genres.
Sure, all we need is like someone who likes either John Mayer or Jason Mraz.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not going to get Jason Mraz, but we are going to get a live performance with the West Texas Rednecks. They are going to come out wearing camo and orange hunting vests.
Which is exactly what the No Limit Soldiers wear, except the No Limit Soldiers is like blue and silver.
Right.
So
they're going to sing Rap is Crap live for you, and of course by that, it's going to play over the audio speaker, and they're going to just lip sync it. But... still good stuff here as they're going to
It's as good as I was hoping it would be.
Right. We then moved to our opening bout. Eddie Guerrero's back. I was excited. I don't know if you were excited. He's wrestling Psychosis. We did find out that he actually debuted on Nitro this past week.
Yeah, he's not going to debut on Thunder.
Of
sorry.
course. But there will be returns that do happen on Thunder. Spoiler alert for those who want to keep listening.
Keep listening.
He did come back on Nitro, beat Juventud Guerrera. As you could expect, Eddie coming back, he's got to get a win. He's going to get into the ring. He's pissed off that the LWO has fallen apart, is no longer a thing in his absence.
He's been gone for 8 months. He's like,
he really thought the LWO was still going to go strong. So now he's on his LWO revenge tour. Next stop, Psychosis. This is going to go pretty long in this match. They're going to go back and forth for a while. Ultimately, Eddie is going to win with the frog splash. He's going to get the 3. I gave it 2.5 stars. I thought it was a fun match, and I was really happy to see that, Eddie's back. Of course, I think this was the year he had a serious car accident around New Year's, so it's been a while, but glad to see he's back and getting his revenge on the LWO. So
I was curious. I know that he was out off TV for a while towards the latter half of 1998 when the LWO was kind of splitting up.
Right.
I don't know if that was, maybe I'm just thinking too far. Maybe that was January when they kind of split up the LWO, which now that I think about it, that does sound right. Like I for some reason I thought that something happened with Eddie before the accident, which got him off TV, and then got in the accident and then pushed it even further.
That's possible. I'm
not quite sure. Either way, as far as this match is concerned, I gave it 2 3/4 stars. At first I thought maybe I'm giving this too high just because I miss Eddie, but then I watched it a second time just to kind of confirm it. No, this actually I would give it 2 3/4 stars. It was a top-notch match. Both guys look good. I always like it when both guys look good in a match, whether they win or lose. So Psychosis didn't look like a jobber in this in this aspect. There was some not so fluid offense by Psychosis, and like I said, once again, that could just be the fact that Eddie's been off doing. Not doing any type of work with any of these guys for a while. And I know these guys have had plenty of wrestling matches in the past. But just like anybody, when you're used to, wrestling, 3-4 times a week, you might, even though if it's like a house show or something you don't see on TV, you usually get a chance to get in the ring with these guys relatively often. So 8 months can feel like a long time. It was great to see Eddie back. And it really, like I said, it looked like he didn't miss a step, both in the ring and also just with his character development.
After this match, we go to the back. We've got Ric Flair. He's in his office. He's got David Flair there, Asia, Arn Anderson, and Evan Courageous, of course, joining him there. Rick's talking to Evan Courageous about David Flair and how he's on pace to break Goldberg's record.
I guess if you're 1-0, you're on pace, yeah.
Right. So I think he's 6-0 at this point. He tells Evan that Evan has a great body and a great career ahead of him, which Evan appreciates those nice compliments. And then, of course, Ric Flair asks him to throw his match tonight against David Flair as David is continuing his ascendance towards that 183 consecutive win streak from Goldberg. Evan, it seems hesitant at first, but Rick basically tells him that he owns the young guys, controls their careers and their futures, and it would be in Evan Courage's best interest to throw that match, and Evan needs to respect and understand that.
I feel like we were really, with the dialogue that Flair was giving, it wasn't like Flair was being like backhanding or just kind of be like, hey, it might be in your best. He just says, I own you. You will do this, which I don't know if I like that way of, like, I almost like it where it's like, the choice is yours, but if you make the wrong choice, we're going to fuck you up.
Right.
But this just felt more like there's no suspense in this at all.
Right.
And Evan definitely didn't say yes or no.
Correct.
He basically Flair just shook his hand in the middle of him trying to say no.
Right.
And said, all right, cool, see you at the ring.
After this, we get our second replay of the night. It's Sid and Savage. They're in the ring. This is from Nitro. They're beating the shit out of Psychosis and Kidman.
As you would. That
Right.
sounds about right for them to be in there.
This leads to Sting coming in for a save.
It's not really a save, though, because I'm pretty sure they got the shit kicked out of them. They got powerbomb. He ran to the ring as Sid's powerbombing Psychosis, and then they just kind of just leave. They don't run out of the ring. They're just like, we're done. Like, and then Sting just kind of stares at it like he did nothing.
Right. We then cut to Nash on the mic. Nash said he saw Sting go after Rick after he got out of a Hummer. So Sting drove a Hummer. Now, was it the Hummer? We don't know, but we do know that Sting drives Hummers.
That's poor timing, Sting.
We then cut to another clip of Savage and Sting, or Savage and Sid. They're attacking Sting. This brings Lex Luger in with the chair for the save, and reminds me that Lex Luger is still a thing.
And it also reminds me that it's been a while since Lex Luger has turned on Sting.
Right.
So I feel like this is happening pretty soon.
We then cut to we now have a Kevin Nash promo. Nash is going to come into the ring here on Thunder. He's going to discuss being an outsider, how they came in with Hall 3 years ago. He's then going to talk about Savage and how he and Sid together can't beat him for the belt. He then throws in the fact that he does not trust his tag partner, which is a total shock.
I mean, last time I think they were all together, they were both in the same stable together, and I don't think they did anything to like cause any type of like ill will. So I don't know where all of a sudden the distrust just gets artificially created at this point.
Well, it's because Sting drives a Hummer. That's why.
Oh yeah, fair.
And then he tells WCW he's not handing the title over to the franchise, meaning Sting, and then says Big Sexy has left the building.
Did a little Elvis, or maybe a little bit of HBK at the end of that one.
We then move to a tag team action. Fit Finlay and Dave Taylor wrestling Chris Benoit and Perry Saturn. This felt like a very pre-taped Thunder kind of matchup here.
Yes.
And I feel like the formula coming into this match for the night feels like a pre-taped Thunder. You had a lot of long matches. This one went pretty long too. A lot of replays. But the only thing I will say is they did have promos in there, like the Kevin Nash promo, so there was at least a main player playing in it, but it did seem like a lot of, I don't know, it felt like that pre-taped Thunder formula. Zbyszko's going to be on the microphone here, continuing to defend the veterans, the old guys, saying the young guys need to prove themselves. The old guys are here. They're the vets. As for the match itself, eventually you're going to get the Death Valley Driver, but Finley's going to break it up. We are going to get Chris Benoit doing the flying headbutt for a 3 count. I'm pretty sure he wasn't tagged in at the end there.
He certainly was not.
I gave it 2.25 stars. You've got 4 solid technician wrestlers here in this match, and you got pretty much what you expected out of them. Chris Benoit and Perry Saturn are going to win as you expect them to, as they're kind of in the heat of the tag team division.
Yeah, I agree. I gave this 2.5 stars. Saturn looked really off in this whole match, though. Like I don't know if you've noticed. I know it's been a week ago since you've seen it, but if you ever get a chance, go back and look. Like it just seemed like his clotheslines were a little off. A couple of his suplexes weren't flush. He stumbled a couple of times when he was trying to do reversals. He just seemed like he was just like on ice out there. It got better towards the end, but it was something that I had to notice. I had to note, and probably would have been a 2.75 stars match if it wasn't for that. But I really enjoyed the match as a whole. The wrestling in itself was on point. There was a really hilarious point where it looked like Dave Taylor was missionary fucking Chris Benoit. That'll probably be the artwork for this week's episode. I don't know what he was trying to do, but I guess it's a wrestling move, so I guess we'll just let that go.
It might also be a move in the Kama Sutra.
It could be. And I don't know what it is, and maybe I'm maybe I'm wrong, but I think every single time I see Dave Taylor in a match, it reminds me of William Regal, and I think he's way underappreciated. Like, I understand that he's not going to go anywhere. I understand he's an enhancement talent. He's not going to get a belt or anything like that, like a Fit Finlay might.
He just doesn't have the charisma for it.
It might, and once again, you could be right, but I just think that the dude pulls out the right amount of, like, the correct and the right amount of, I guess, heat from the crowd. I think the crowd boos him. I think that, like, he gives them what they want. He puts over very well the moves that he's going up against, and he doesn't look like a piece of shit jobber that just kind of gets his ass kicked. So I think he's like the perfect kind of, like, if I wanted somebody to be like, hey, you're going to go in the ring with Dave Taylor, as the other guy, I'd be excited because I think he's going to help me look good.
Right.
That type of thing. But also I just think that both Dave Taylor and Finlay carried a lot more of this match than I thought they would. And because, especially like I said, Saturn looked a little bit whatever, and Saturn was in the match most of the time.
Right.
So he was kind of carrying the match, but also not doing I wouldn't say a very fluid job of doing it. And you're correct. Benoit definitely just did a diving headbutt without the tag for the win.
Speaking of Regal, we get the return of Mr. Regal here as Taylor and Finlay. They're going to hug it out thanks to Regal. Looks like Regal's back in WCW, making his return on Thunder post-match in a Fit Finlay Dave Taylor enhancement match. We'll call it that. So
it's about what Steve Regal deserves.
Quite a return for Mr. Regal. After this, we get our third replay of the night. We're on Nitro. We've got Malenko. He's locked on the Cloverleaf on Arn Anderson. Piper comes, digs real deep in those trousers for the old Dick Knuckles. And he's going to level Bagwell, which is going to let Flair make the pin in their match.
I almost thought, I said the same thing. I'm like, are we going to call these like the fucking Taint Knuckles? Because that was real down in there.
He went deep. We then go to a promo. Mean Gene, he's going to be interviewing Ric Flair, who's joined to the ring by Asia. And Mean Gene's going to start by telling us a little history lesson on the Louisiana Purchase, which I thought was a nice addition.
Yeah.
Ric Flair is then going to say it's hot in here, and the crowd is illiterate and fat. He's then he then officially makes the match our main event tonight: Buff Bagwell and Dean Malenko wrestling Sid and Savage.
We also find out too that DDP and Bam Bam will be defending the titles against Saturn and Benoit at Bash at the Beach.
So there we go.
So there you go. Thunder happenings.
That's right.
There you
go. Flair then tells fans that he's going to take someone's mother home and make her say Castro, which was interesting.
Which is something I won't understand.
Flair says he has a surprise for Nash, and then he's going to stroke out and continue to say, turn the power on, turn the power on, turn the power on, turn the power on. And if it was anyone other than Ric Flair, you would say, what the fuck's happening? But
or if it's High Voltage. Or maybe someone from High Voltage. I would have allowed that too.
But it's Ric Flair, and it's totally endearing, and I loved it. We then move to our next match, Kurt Hennig and Lenny Lane. Kurt is going to dominate Lenny Lane as you would expect him to.
I fucking hope so.
Until a towel is thrown into the ring, courtesy of Lodi. Lodi is thrown in the towel on Lenny Lane's behalf. I gave the match a 1.75 stars. You didn't rate it. I think it's fair all around.
It felt like Kurt Hennig beat the shit out of somebody in a promo. It didn't even look like a match. I don't think there was even a single pin attempt.
Right.
Yeah, this was a big old nothing burger.
But we are continuing to push the Lenny Lane-Lodi friendship.
The friendship, if you will. Yes.
Right. We then have Randy Savage. He's joined by the entire Team Madness, which is, of course, all the ladies and Sid. He's going to talk about that tag team match from Hell upcoming. Which
is funny because I actually went back and watched when he returned. You want to know what he called his world title match against Nash? The world title match from Hell.
Nice. There's a lot of hell going on here. He does reiterate that neither himself, which is obvious because he was driving the limo at the time.
Right.
And Sid were not driving the Hummer.
No, he wasn't. Oh, yeah, he was. Hey, right, he was driving. I know the ladies were in there, but I thought there was nobody. No, I didn't think the limo left.
Remember, he rolled down the window and he was in the driver's seat.
That's right. For some reason, I thought that the limo never moved.
No, he drove.
He drove it a little bit. Okay.
So he reiterates Sid also did not drive the Hummer. So now it is Sid and Macho Man saying Sid did not drive the Hummer. So I feel like it's pretty much a done deal that Sid was not the driver.
Yes.
We can eliminate one guy from that
just
list.
just one person. Right. Yes, for sure.
Well, and Savage. So I guess two. And Kevin Nash. So we've gotten three people.
And probably and really, unless the ladies are really fast in getting into a car, we could probably roll out all the ladies.
Them. So we've eliminated 6 people, but Sting drives a limo or drives a Hummer. He may have been the driver.
Dude, how anticlimactic would it be if they finally actually revealed who the limo driver was, and you find out that they were just like, it was Medusa.
We then Savage is going to give us a bunch of card puns as he says he's got the cards, he's stacked the deck, and he's ready to show his hand, which I feel like is not what you would do in cards. If you've stacked the deck, why would you show your hand?
Because he's so confident he's going to win.
I guess so. Sid's going to ramble in only the way Sid can, saying words and phrases that would seem like gibberish and nonsensical, but when it comes from Sid, it just seems to make sense.
It sounds borderline sexual, because half the time he keeps telling us to feel the madness, and he's really, really, really wanting us to feel this madness.
Speaking of madness, Evan Courageous is going to come out in this next match against David Flair. David Flair, of course, on that impressive 6-0 run. Courageous is going to dominate David Flair, as you would expect.
An Evan Courageous squash match.
Everyone on the outside is telling him to stop. This is when you need to start jobbing to David Flair. He doesn't listen. Age is going to interfere. David Flair is going to use the stun gun. He's going to lock on the figure 4. He's going to get the win. So Evan Courageous did not listen, got a stun gun. I gave it a 1.5 because this is exactly what I was expecting. But that said, 7-0. David.
You know what? If we were at Thunder, we would have been chanting this.
Right.
I also gave this a 1.5. This is your classic Goldberg match. Everything that you loved in a Goldberg match without any cool moves. Which I think
stun gun in figure 4 is not a cool. It's basically spear jackhammer.
For David Flair at this point, how green he is, yeah, I probably would agree. I put in my notes that your winner is David Flair by nepotism. He's nowhere near ready to be in the fucking ring, and he's had 6 matches, not counting this one where he's won. But once again, 7-0. Match was so uninteresting that the 1-800 collect highlights were of Arn just doing the old, hey, let's stop the match, or you gotta start jobbing. That's how bad it was that it was Arn Anderson who was your highlights.
After this, we get Hugh Morris, accompanied to the ring by Jimmy Hart, wrestling Van Hammer. I still hate Van Hammer's look. I know you're a fan of it.
But he changes it. Like, last time, it was like he had the tie-dye, but he looked like Wrath with tie-dye. Now it's like a black, with like, now he looks more like Wrath. Like he's slowly transforming into this being the Wrath match of the night, except he jobs.
Right. Hugh Morris is going to open up with a trash can lid, so apparently this is a hardcore match, or it's First Family rules, I'm not sure. Van Hammer's going to take his studded leather jacket off and use it as a weapon, include putting it in the corner and bashing Hugh Morris's face against those
I was okay with that. I was okay. It was different.
It was different. Yeah. It doesn't mean it was good. We get ladders and tables get into the ring. This brings Ric Flair out for some reason. Still kind of confused on this whole part. Flair's going to come out, though, and tell Jimmy Hart that there will never be another hardcore match in WCW, so he's flexing his presidential muscles.
I'm pretty sure 2 months from now there is the hardcore tournament, so I'm pretty sure that's not correct.
Hugh Morris says the First Family is on the rise and to get the hell out of his match. So now you've got the heel First Family feuding with the heel president, WCW.
Of the world.
Ric Flair, of the world, excuse me. Flair and Hugh are going to argue. This is going to give Van Hammer enough time to take out Jimmy Hart and Van Hammer with the table. Or not... Hugh Morris and Van Hammer to take out Hugh Morris and Jimmy Hart. Did I say it right the first time?
I think you did.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't paying attention.
The match is basically over at that point, and Jimmy Hart is blaming Flair for all of it. I didn't bother rating this match. I'm not even sure it really was a match, but I'm still very confused on why you have a heel in the First Family and you have the heel in Ric Flair yelling at each other and Flair saying there's going to be no hardcore. It just feels like Flair's doesn't need to be involved in this at all.
Josh, are you trying to suggest that there's some poor booking going on Thunder, and that maybe if we had, maybe at least have somebody in the ring that was a face to argue with him, that maybe would make a little more sense? Because, I mean, right now you're not making sense, dude. All right, this is Thunder we're talking about here. I didn't rate it either. You also glossed over a huge happening in the First Family, and that is Jerry Flynn is now a member of the First Family.
I missed that.
You did?
Yes.
Almost right at the beginning when Hugh Morris was coming down to the ring, which is usually a time to make a sandwich.
Right.
So you might have missed
Maybe that's why I missed it.
Yeah. But yeah, welcome Jerry Flynn to the First Family.
Oh my gosh, they're growing day by day.
It's more than the LWO
now. Yep, my apologies for that one. After this, we are going to move to our main event, Kyle.
Oh shit, we're here already, okay.
And Psycho Sid, of course,
Whoa. Sid Vicious.
Psychotic Sid. I think they called him in this.
The Madness Sid Vicious, whatever.
They're accompanied, of course, by Team Madness, wrestling Buff Bagwell and Dean Malenko. Macho Man's going to get on the mic on the way out and say, this is going to be a tune-up for Bash at the Beach. Kevin Nash better take notice of what's going on here.
This is, by the way, Buff Bagwell and Dean Malenko cannot be any more opposite of fucking characters. And having them be in a tag match and them coming down to the ramp together, I was actually hoping, I hope they come down to the ring separately.
Yeah.
Because they're so different. Because Buff is so animated and goofy, and Dean just is Dean.
Stone face, right?
Yeah. And so, but Buff is still going to be himself, and Dean's not all of a sudden going to crack a smile for some fucking reason. So when I saw them come down to the ring, I almost wanted to look away. It wasn't as cringy as I thought, because Dean's just like, yeah, I'm going to take care of that guy over there. And Buff's just like, he's the stuff.
I'm Buff and I'm the stuff.
Absolutely.
Mike Tenay's going to ask a question, though, and said he's going to ask Larry Zbyszko, did you ever think Team Madness could have gotten even more dangerous? And then they added Sid. Yes, I mean, it's Macho Man and 3 women.
By the way, this is 2019. We're not trying to bash on women. You guys are lions.
Don't get me wrong. 2 out of the 3 women are probably WWE Hall of Famers.
Probably the 2 women that I fear the most is your wife and mine. So let's get that clear.
And Gorgeous George. But yes, this team could be a lot stronger.
Hugh Morris in there. I'd probably be a little
the
more.
The First Family might be more stronger at this point.
Yeah.
So yes, Mike Tenay.
Especially with Jerry Flynn.
I think this team could get even stronger and more dangerous. Then they added Sid. So yes.
Yes.
Buff's going to come out then with Dean. To your point, he's going to let us know that he is Buff and he is the stuff.
Sure.
Which I did not know. I don't think I've heard that at all, ever.
It's nice to let know. I'm glad that Buff is coming in with new dialogue.
Buff is going to get chokeslammed in this match. Team Madness is going to get involved. All the women are going to get involved, including a Texas Cloverleaf for Miss Madness herself.
And she went for a top rope sunset flip, which, I'm sorry, Miss Madness has proven time and time again that she's the best wrestler in any Macho Man match.
You're right. She's also wearing a prom dress.
Yeah, if I put on a prom dress, I'd have a hard time doing a sunset flip.
Right. So Malenko's going to get power bombed. Macho Man's going to go up top for it's going to head towards the top rope for the elbow, which I guess is still banned because Nick Patrick starts yelling at him for it.
I thought was it only lifted for the Nash match?
I guess, that must be what it is. Nick Patrick's going to get punched in the face.
He's going to get crushed on the top rope as well.
Yeah, he's going to get crushed on the top rope. The bell's going to ring at some point.
Mickey J shows up and rings the bell.
Right, I gave the match no rating, and then Mickey J runs back in and takes a pile driver. Mickey J just got spiked. And then he gets power bombed. And
so he took more offense than Malenko and Bagwell did, probably.
I still didn't rate the match, but I applaud Mickey J for taking a pile driver of all things.
No, once again, if you're in the business, all right, whether you're Mickey J or Vincent Kennedy McMahon, prepare to get your fucking tailbone broken because shit's gonna happen in the ring. You're gonna get the same shit happen to you. I did rate this because it was still a 7-minute match. Once again, I guess there's a difference between not rating something or calling it a dud or just saying, look, I'm going to rate this and shit on it. I'm kind of more on the latter end of this. I gave it a 1.75 stars. It's an expected DQ finish, but at the same time, it's only expected because it's how it always is. It's not because I think it's what it should be.
Right.
I think it would have made more sense for Sid and Macho Man to go over via nefarious deeds of some sort.
Yep.
And I just, like I said, because really what happened was, I understand maybe you don't want to squash your babyface talent, but you still kind of did in this match.
I mean, you're pushing Buff, so maybe Buff doesn't get pinned here, but I think Malenko could have done the job in this match.
No, and I agree. But
whether clean or not, I think it could have happened.
No, I'll go with that. And once again, Bagwell did lose. He was the one that got hit with the dick knuckles and ended up losing to Flair. So it's not like he's not immune to getting squashed by the number one contender and the biggest man in wrestling today. You would think that as long as it's coming through he couldn't overcome the odds of a 5-on-1 assault, which I can understand because the most part of the match, Sid and Macho Man were just beating the living shit out of Bagwell. So there wasn't really much Bagwell was doing throughout most of the match. Like I said before, Miss Madness 1999 continues to be the best wrestler in these matches. But like I said, overall, like I said before, I understand that you don't want to squash the other two guys. But I still think that there was a way for someone to go over and not just have it just be a DQ. There's many ways to peel this onion as far as making people look good without completely just dismissing the other side of it.
Definitely. That said, that was Thunder.
And we felt the madness.
We did feel the madness as the show ended. Kyle, what'd you think about Thunder 68?
I kind of wish the show was only an hour long.
I feel that way a lot of times.
I think what they usually do, what it feels like what they're doing, especially now with SmackDown being a thing that they're going head-to-head on, is that I think they try to create good worker or, not good workhorse matches at the beginning. Like, once again, Psychosis Eddie Guerrero, that was probably match of the night by far.
Yeah.
And if they're going to put that and that tag match at the beginning with some promo stuff, you got me hooked. Or at least you at least can argue that could be the best you could have done with the talent you got. Sure, right. I'd go with that. But honestly, after the Savage in-ring promo, the show really took a nosedive. Or we can even go as far back as the Hennig match, which I think was a little bit before it was right before the Savage promo. Everything after that was very inconsequential. The Flair match, to the thrown out hardcore match, which I didn't even think was possible to just have a hardcore match without an ending at all. That was just kind of weird. The main event, once again, inconsequential to say the least. Like I mentioned before, they kind of did the dangling carrot with a good Eddie Guerrero Psychosis match to kind of keep you in. The rest of the show was just really hard to stomach. If you're going to have bad matches, or at least if you're not going to have good people in the ring, then tell a good story. And I think that was the problem, was like, if you don't have either, then it's very, very obvious that we're going to notice that when we're going to review it, is that, we've seen shitty matches, but we can still give it a decent rating if at least it was something we could talk about and at least say, like, at least something push the needle forward a little bit more. For a live show, where I think that's where the opportunity of pushing storyline is most important, I think they did a horrible job. We find out, I guess, that on Thunder that Flair banned hardcore matches. We'll see if that sticks. We'll say this, I think, all the way up until David Flair starts wrestling. David Flair is not ready to be in the ring. He needs to go to a weight room. He just looks like a fucking scrawny version of Flair. Which, once again, Flair is not exactly the bulkiest, buffest dude we've ever seen in wrestling.
David Flair doesn't have the personality either.
He doesn't talk. So his dad talks for him, and there's a difference between being a Brock Lesnar with a mouthpiece and David Flair with a mouthpiece.
Right.
So, it really is a shame, because I felt the show really did start off strong, though.
No, I agree with you there. It did have a good start, and then it fell flat quickly. It felt like a pre-taped Thunder to me, even though it wasn't a pre-taped Thunder. And I really don't have much more to add to that, other than this might be the one and only time Brock Lesnar and David Flair were compared in the same sentence.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Brock Lesnar.
That's our show this week. So if you haven't yet subscribed, go do it. Leave us a 5-star review. Let us know how we're doing. Of course, you can always follow us on social media as well. We're at Thundercraps on Twitter. And then you can always go to thundercraps.com for all of our previous episodes. And then it's time, Kyle. It's episode 69.
Woo! So I think it's July 1st, 1999.
All right, I'll take your word for it there.
Yeah, there's 30 days in June, so 7 days after this point.
So the Thunder 69 in July 1999. We're getting closer and closer to Great American Bash.
Bash at the beach.
Bash at the beach.
Fucking Roddy Piper over here.
And the tag team match from hell. So a lot to look forward to. Can David Flair's streak continue? We will see, as we're probably pre-taped from Lafayette, I'm sure. That said, for Kyle Hogan, I'm Josh Kaiser, and we will see you next time on the Thundercraps podcast.
We are feel the madnessingly out of time. See ya.